Have you ever heard of the Red Mountain? I'm not talking about some fairy tale peak. I'm talking about Kelut, an active volcano in Indonesia, known for its terrifying beauty and destructive power. For centuries, the people living in its shadow have passed down a legend, a story that serves as both a history lesson and a chilling warning. They call it the Red Mountain's warning. The tale begins in a time of great prosperity. The kingdom of Kediri, nestled at the foot of Kelut, was ruled by a wise and just king. The land was fertile, the harvests were bountiful, and the people lived in peace. But this idyllic life was watched over by the ever-present, silent giant Mount Kelut. The villagers respected the mountain, offering gifts and prayers, but they had grown comfortable, perhaps too comfortable, in its presence. They saw it as a benevolent guardian, a source of their rich soil, not the volatile force of nature it truly was. One day, a traveling sage arrived in the kingdom. He was old, with eyes that held the wisdom of ages. He looked at the bustling markets, the happy children, and then his gaze fell upon the peak of Kelut. A plume of white smoke drifted lazily from its crater. While the villagers saw this as a normal, everyday sight, the sage saw something more. He saw a deep, slumbering anger. He went before the king and warned him, "Your Majesty, the mountain is stirring. Its heart beats with a fiery rage. The smoke is not a greeting. It is a sigh of impatience." The king, a practical man, listened politely but was skeptical. "Sage," he sighed, "Kelut has always smoked. The earth rumbles from time to time. These are the ways of the land. We have lived here for generations, and indeed the mountain has always provided for us." The king's advisors echoed his sentiment, dismissing the old man's words as doomsday prophecies. They were busy with trade negotiations and planning the next grand festival. They had no more time for what they considered baseless fears. Undeterred, the sage went to the people. He walked through the villages, trying to explain the subtle signs he had observed. The streams running down the mountain were warmer than they should be. The ground trembled with a low, almost imperceptible hum. He pointed to the birds, which had begun to fly away from the slopes, and the animals in the forest that were moving to lower ground. "Nature is telling you to leave," he pleaded. "The mountain is about to shed its skin of stone and the trees in a torrent of fire." But the people, much like their king, were too content in their daily lives to heed his warning. They laughed at him. "The old man is crazy," they whispered. "He wants to scare us away so he can have our land." They had just planted their eyes. Their homes were sturdy, and the thought of abandoning everything they had ever known was simply unthinkable. They had faith in their guardian mountain. Only a handful of people listened. A young farmer and his family, who had noticed the strange warmth in the river where they bathed. A weaver who felt the unusual vibrations through the floor of her hut. An old hunter who knew the ways of the animals and saw the truth in the sage's words. Quietly, they packed their most essential belongings and, under the cover of night, left their homes heading for the distant hills. Days turned into weeks. The sage, seeing his efforts were in vain, left the kingdom with a heavy heart. The festival preparations continued, and the kingdom was abuzz with excitement. And then, it happened. One evening, as the sun set, the sky didn't turn to its usual hues of orange and purple. Instead, it glowed a menacing, fiery red. The lazy plume of smoke from Kelut's peak turned into a thick, black column, punching thousands of feet into the air. The low hum a sage had described became a deafening roar that shook the very foundations of the earth. The ground split open, and the people, frozen in terror, finally understood that Red Mountain was no more longer their guardian. A pyroclastic flow, a monstrous, superheated cloud of ash, rock, and gas erupted from the crater, cascading down the slopes at an impossible speed. It was hotter than an oven, and moved faster than a hurricane, consuming everything in its path. The beautiful kingdom of Kediri, with its bustling markets and sturdy homes, was buried in an instant. The land that had provided such abundance became a desolate, grey wasteland. The story doesn't end there, though. When the ash settled, and the air cooled, the few who had listened to the sage returned. They found their world erased, a haunting testament to the power they had underestimated. They rebuilt their lives, but they never forgot. They named the volcano the Red Mountain, in memory of the blood-red sky on the fateful night. And they passed the story down from parent to child, a solemn vow to never again ignore the whispers of the earth. The legend became a living part of their culture, a safety manual written in folklore. Today, scientists with modern seismographs and gas sensors monitor Kelut around the clock. Their data provides the same warnings the old sage tried to give: changes in ground temperature, seismic tremors, animal behavior. The descendants of the Kediri kingdom now listen intently to these official alerts. When the authorities say it's time to evacuate, they don't hesitate. They pack their essentials, remember the story of their ancestors, and move to safety. The Red Mountain's warning is more than just an ancient legend. It's a powerful story about the relationship between humanity and nature. It teaches us that nature is not something to be conquered or ignored. It demands respect and the understanding. It reminds us that sometimes, the quietest warnings are the most important, and that ancient wisdom and the modern science can work hand in hand to keep us safe. The story of Kulud is a timeless reminder that we are merely guests on this powerful, ever-changing planet. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more tales from around the world. Stay curious and stay safe.